Harvey Brosler is somebody that I've gotten to know over the last many years here in Camarillo. He is somebody that puts others first. He is somebody that, despite his own challenges, makes it his business to reach out and transform the world around him and do good for others. His talk, entitled A Success Story, really sums up the true definition of success. Many think in terms of how much money they have, or how many cars or homes that they own. But really, true success is measured by how much good you have done in this world. And Harvey has had a lifetime of success. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a success story.
The title of my story is A Success Story. While attending law school at night, I worked as a social worker for the Baltimore City Welfare Department in AFDC, which means Aid to Families with Dependent Children. Most of the families involved single women with children. I may have had a caseload of over 200 families, and most times I would see a family once a year. When a family started receiving assistance, I would try and see them as soon as possible so I could assess their needs. I remember one family very well. They lived on the second floor of a 3-floor apartment house. When I first arrived, the stairwell and landing were dark. I knocked on the door and heard a small voice asking me to come in. I followed the voice to the bedroom and saw a very thin lady in the bed. She mentioned she was not feeling well and was taking oil of vinegar to get better. Oil of wintergreen to get better. I advised her that she should see a doctor as soon as possible and that I would come back the next week. She told me that the reason there was no lighting was because the wiring was defective, which was subsequently fixed. When I came back, she advised me that she had seen the doctor and he determined her blood pressure was 80/0. Since a normal blood pressure is generally 120/80, that meant that her blood pressure was so low the doctor could not get a diastolic reading. The doctor advised her that if she had not come to see him, she would have been dead within 2 days. I started working diligently with my client as it was obvious that she needed help. Contrary to my usual routine, I saw her 1 day a week for the next 2 months. I provided her with supplemental funds to buy mattresses to replace the urine-stained mattresses that her children were sleeping on and to replace their bedroom furniture. I requested that the department's housekeeping service visit her and provide advice on making nutritious meals, in shopping, and keeping the house clean. On one of my visits, we were sitting in her kitchen when all of a sudden I noticed that the wall behind the stove was moving. Cockroaches were coming out of the wall in droves. I advised my client to go to the store and get a sprayer and roach killer. When she brought back the supplies back, I started spraying the wall, and out came more and more roaches. She swept up the dead roaches in a dustpan. I called the landlord and advised him that I was going to contact the health department. He told me that he would do whatever I wanted, as he did not want any trouble. My client's brother was visiting her, and he advised me that if the landlord supplied the paint and painting supplies, he would paint the apartment. The landlord agreed. The apartment was painted. On one of my final visits, I noticed a string of wires running from the first to the second floor. My client advised me that the electricity was out again, that the only way she got a light was by running a connection from the first floor apartment. She had contacted the landlord and was after him to get the wiring fixed. She advised me, my apartment looks nice and I want to keep it that way. A success story. The title of this story is How My Family Influenced Me in What I Am Today. The most important things we learn until the age of 10 that are very basic to our whole life comes primarily from our parents. I've always felt very lucky in that respect, as my father and mother were very honest in their dealings with others, had a good name, and always fulfilled their obligations. I learned their work ethic and that a person's word is their bond. You cannot buy a good name. They always had the respect of members of the family, the salespersons that came to my parents' neighborhood hardware store, and the customers who patronized the store. My parents opened the hardware store in 1933 during the Depression and utilized all of their finances to buy inventory from a bankruptcy sale and to fix up the store. It had to be tough. In 1941, the United States officially entered the Second World War. Although pots and pans and other products made of materials needed for the war effort were hard to get, my father was always given first choice on those items that the salesman had due to the way he treated them when their products were easier to obtain. I remember vividly a situation that happened when I was maybe 5 or 6 that made a deep impression on me. Bridgeport, Connecticut had a terrible storm that brought down telephone poles and caused widespread flooding. My dad and I were able to get to drive through all of that to open the store. He advised me to get all of the flashlights, batteries, and candles we had in stock and place them on the main counter. I mentioned to my dad that maybe we should charge a little higher price for the candles as people were in need. He advised me that we would charge the normal price, as after the emergency was over, customers would remember that we took advantage of them. I am sure that if my father was alive, he would not remember that incident, but his words had a big influence on me. When I was growing up, I felt safe and that things around me were always under control. I remember looking up to my father when I was maybe 5 or so, knowing that if there were any major family decisions to be made, I could depend upon him to make the right decision. Now that I'm the oldest generation, my children look to me to make the right decisions as I looked to my father to make. I remember a situation when my children looked to me to decide what to do. I remember that look as I had the same look when I would silently look to my father. I wished he was there to make the right decision. Sometimes I wish I was back being 5 or 6 again and having my father make the decisions. He was my security blanket, and now I am the security blanket for my children, which is not easy. All we can say is that we make the right decisions on important matters. I think about them often and what they meant to me.
Thank you, Harvey. You are truly a remarkable person. But the truth is, every single one of us, I'm sure, has done great things and can do great things. Seize the moment, every second of your life. is precious. It's a gift from Hashem. And when you get older, all it means is that you have more experience and more knowledge, and you have more to share and more to contribute with the world.